I'm asking to speakers. Everyone is ready? Settle down?
Yes.
Nice. Actually, I'm also so excited because this is my first webinar which I'm moderating in English. So sorry at the beginning. And the translator is also ready. He's my translator as well for many projects. As I said, if the participant choose Chinese, they are going to hear the translator as well. Son bir hatırlatma yapıyorum arkadaşlar. Ekranlarınızdan Q&A'nin yanında Çince Interpretation diye bir alan var. Oradan Çince'yi seçerseniz bizim sesimizi arka planda, tercümanın sesini önde üzerine duyacaksınız. Sorularınız olursa chatten Ali arkadaşım ve Nevap cevaplayacak. Yes. Thank you so much again to every speaker. I am so happy to see you again. Actually, I wish I had seen you in the physical events, but now it's not possible, as you know, because of pandemic. And today we have very important guests from the world's leading companies. Mohan Ram from DigitalOcean, Sam from Cloudflare, Begim Baslıgil from Bulutistan and Bull Broker as well, and Lucas Hertig from Plesk. These four companies and Turkey's and world's leading companies at their industry. And today they are going to share about their opinion, what kind of development happening after pandemic, what kind of feature they see from their part. And first, I'm going to direct my question to everyone, and everyone is going to have 45 minutes to answer. And then I'm going to pass the second speakers. So let's get started with the Mohan. Mohan, thank you so much again. How's it going?
Good, Burkai. Nice to see all of you again, and thanks for having me.
Yeah. Mohan, first question is, you know, we're still seeing a pandemic and it's affecting the business a lot around the world. As DigitalOcean, what kind of effect you see on your business with the pandemic? Can you please share with us?
Yeah, great question. I'll just quickly introduce myself as well. So I lead our go-to-market and business development efforts in the APAC region. And internally, when we refer to APAC, it also includes parts of Eastern Europe, including Turkey, as well as Middle East and North Africa. To your question, Burkai, in terms of the pandemic itself, I think a lot has changed, right, in the last couple of months. And of course, businesses are impacted. For us at DigitalOcean, I think fortunately being in the cloud business, especially as cloud is a sort of like a backbone for most new age businesses, I think we've been in a position to continue and continue to serve and help our customers continue to serve their end customers, right? So interestingly, in a difficult time like this for us, and you must have read reports of other cloud providers as well. Cloud especially is seeing a spike in business because a lot of businesses that are kind of hosted on the cloud, they continue to scale, they continue to serve their customers. For us, especially, I think we're seeing a little bit of a spike because again, customers. A lot of people are stuck at home. They're video streaming, watching a lot more shows, if you will, or even continuing to work. So we are seeing a spike in customers in the video streaming space, gaming. A lot of people are playing a lot more games. EdTech, people are continuing to kind of educate themselves, use this time to go to platforms that provide online training. So we're seeing a lot of customers from there and a huge spike. So for us, the change that has happened is earlier we would have some sort of a heads up into what our capacity requirements would be in the next 6 months, if you will. But suddenly, because of the spike, we are having to fast forward our processes in terms of capacity planning to ensure that we continue to serve customers. And also in this difficult period, it's also kind of led to newer challenges where, because we've had to plan capacity, our folks have had to go and work with our data center providers. And with all the regulations, we've had to get government clearance letters to even go to the data centers and ensure we are kind of augmenting our capacity to continue to serve customers. So that's one thing. From an overall business perspective, I think because so many people are now dependent on cloud and the internet to continue working and to ensure that business continues to run. I think we're seeing a huge spike in bandwidth usage, right? About 20 to 25% spike in bandwidth usage. So yeah, those are certain things. And luckily, by the nature of cloud, elasticity is sort of built in. But like I said, I think this pandemic has kind of made us to sit up, take note of our processes, to even fast track some of the processes to ensure we continue supporting our customers and their customers.
Yeah, yeah, thank you. Thank you so much, Mohan. It's a good feedback for us. And now I want to ask the same question to Lucas. Lucas, do you hear us, I think?
Yes, good morning, everyone. Sorry if I have some problems with the camera, but I hope it's still fine.
Yeah.
Quick introduction about myself. I'm running business development for Plesk. As many of you probably know me, I'm 18 years in the industry, and yeah, we're partnering also with Mohan and DigitalOcean and Cloudflare and stuff. So, but I'm representing today also, I would say, WebPros group, what is now Plesk, cPanel, WHMCS, Solus.io, and other products that you might be familiar with. In terms of impact of the business, similar to what Mohan already said, we also have seen significant more growth. You know, when we will talk about digital transformation, but the end customers of service providers of any form are usually SMB, and they need digital transformation. And often it starts first on one side with cloud computing, but then it also goes into website and e-commerce. And so we have seen not only a spike in terms of usage of our products, but also in terms of, for example, WordPress and WooCommerce based installations, because after the website, usually the online shop is coming. So it's super interesting times for us, but you know, we're also careful because the impact of this crisis can actually come with a delay, meaning even if we have seen a spike right now, the economic impact is already starting to hit in many cases. I think many people are talking about it, if it's going to be a V, a U, or a L in terms of the curve that went down. Everyone is hoping for a V, that it's coming back fast, but we don't know. I mean, we have seen multiple different types of SMBs that also went bankrupt, but we also have seen new players. And so in the end, when we are working with service providers all around the world and also in Turkey, many of you, we hope that new players on the market will balance out those that will go bankrupt, but we'll see. In general, we have a positive conclusion so far out of this crisis, but we're still careful.
Actually, Lucas, I want to ask you one more question about your business as well. The Plesk and cPanel is the most preferred control panel over the world, and when people open a new hosting packages inside, of course, they are creating a website as well. Do you see some increase for the numbers of hosting panel increasement? I mean, do you see new websites during this pandemic? Because we think that since people is not offline, they are preferring to online businesses. Do you see any kind of statistic about this, any kind of development?
Yes, absolutely. So I think, you know, when you look at cPanel and Plesk together, we are managing tens of millions of websites, and we are tracking many of these websites. We know what's going on. We know technologies that are being used and so on. What helps us to identify these trends. And yes, it has a combination of, on one side, when you talk WordPress and WooCommerce is like 40% of the e-commerce market, and it's part of WordPress. We have seen a serious spike in terms of online shops created based on WooCommerce. And what is also probably infusing the growth on our side is that there is a certain trend that if you do e-commerce, more complex websites and so on, you probably rather take a server or virtual private server or a droplet on DigitalOcean to stay connected instead of just the shared hosting. You know, I have seen companies doing, I mean, just in Switzerland, in my personal network, someone did an advertisement on TV and spent like $30,000 on that advertisement. But on the other side, they had a web hosting for like $10 a month. And what happened was that their website was offline and had like not a good experience for their customers just because they didn't invest enough into hosting. And this is where we see also like an impact on our side, because you use more large virtual machines and maybe even dedicated virtual machines for your business, what then grows our business indirectly to that as well.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for sharing good feedback with us. Yes, Begim, what do you think about the first question, and what kind of effects on your business you see, how customer demand changing, and what you would like to share with us?
Thank you very much for the invitation, first of all.
Yeah.
For the ones who are not very much acquainted with Bulutistan, let me make a very quick introduction about who we are. Bulutistan is the fastest growing technology company for the last 4 years in Turkey. We grew by more than 10,000%, which is much, actually. And like the gentleman before myself, I will repeat the same. I mean, we are measuring our growth month over month, and we kept our growth in the pandemic as well. Even there was a spike, as Mohan mentioned, in the 3 months behind us. And Bulutistan is mainly focused, maybe a small difference between the other participants. Bulutistan is mainly focused on only serving to enterprise companies. So we serve only to Fortune 500.
Yeah.
And when we look to the big enterprises, there are two effects, actually. There are specific industries who are seriously affected and working with us on a pay-as-you-grow basis. And their cloud expenditure, their cloud consumption has decreased significantly. But there are also new industries and new customers who are moving to cloud due to the reasons that we are already familiar with. So they cannot handle their on-premise equipments. So going outside, there is lockdown. They cannot go to their premises. They need to work outside. Some customers are ready for that. Some customers were not ready for that. So, but bottom line, we see that the growth is, we see the momentum of growth is continuing from customer perspective. From internal point of view, the modus operandi is changing. The way that we are doing our business is changing. From operational perspective, again, the gentleman already mentioned, we are doing what we are doing. We are not living in the data centers. Some of the people think that all the cloud guys are living in data centers, but we are not actually. We are managing all the systems on a remote basis. So the life has changed, hasn't changed dramatically from operations point of view. Yet, from enterprise sales guys, of course, there's a paradigm shift. Instead of going to customer premises and having some chit chats and family talks are still there, even more sincere basis due to children interrupting in the calls. So everybody is acquainted with the other's family, actually. Yet we are not going to customers, and we are trying to take care of the business in the calls, which was actually odd at the very beginning. But like everything, like every change, we got used to it. We adapted our business to that. And I think still there are still people who are trying to get accustomed to the new paradigm, but we are adapting ourselves, and the business is going and growing as usual. Mohan made a very important remark. Capacity planning is very important right now, because as the business is booming, we need to keep up with providing the capacity that the customer is necessitating for their business. And the provisioning of the hardware is a little bit trickier these days. So the capacity planning is much more important than ever.
And also, Begim, you work very close with the company's CTO, CIO position people. Also, I think that you are sharing idea with each other. What do they think about these days? I mean, do they plan to postpone their investment on technical stuff, or are they optimistic or pessimistic about the situation? Maybe they can postpone some investment to next year if it is not so required. What do you think about this?
That's a very good question, actually. The first reaction was people were astonished, of course, and no one was accepting something like this. They thought, all of us thought, after a couple of weeks, everything will be by, and we will get back to our business and get back to the life that we were used to.
Yeah.
Yet, after 2 weeks, 3 weeks, there was an acceptance period for the companies as well, as companies are consisting of individuals. The individual's reaction is mainly reflecting the company's reaction.
Yeah.
So, but after the first month, so in the mid of April, would I say, the people have understood that this is the new normal and they need to adapt themselves. So rather than postponing their purchase decisions, rather than postponing the projects which are vital for their business, they try to find out more innovative ways to do their business. So I know, for example, in the first month, a lot of SAP projects have been canceled. In the next month, they found out new ways how the consultants would work on the development of the system.
Yeah.
So after 3 months passed, I should say the business is about to get going as usual.
Yeah. Thank you, Begim. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And now my next question, actually my first question, but next question to Sam. Thank you so much, Sam, for attending. And my questions would be some different to you. Today, Cloudflare runs off the world's largest network that power more than maybe 30 million internet properties with the current climates. And in time, it's been even more crucial to keep business going. And what is Cloudflare seeing as a trend? And what are the new challenges Cloudflare helping us for their customer to overcome, actually?
Sure. Thank you. And thank you for having me here today. Just as a quick introduction, my name is Sam. I'm responsible for product on the Cloudflare products that protect users and devices and data, something we call Cloudflare for Teams. And the word Teams is really important to us because, like a lot of the other presenters have mentioned today, the way that people use the internet together has really changed. You mentioned Cloudflare's network. We're the world's largest reverse proxy, which means people put our network in front of their websites, and also they use our network in the other direction. Individual users will use our free public resolver, for example, to resolve websites on the internet. And what that puts us in a position to do is understand a lot about what is happening on the internet. And of course, it's changing pretty dramatically, like a lot of other presenters mentioned. We've been measuring this pretty closely, and early when the pandemic began to spread more globally in March, we noticed a lot of pretty rapid changes and watched the internet respond in real time. For example, when the state of emergency was declared in the United States, internet usage jumped 20% in the hour that followed. And you see those patterns in nations that underwent quarantine earlier. Internet usage in Italy, for example, increased by as much as 40% compared to this time last year. And you also saw not just internet usage grow across an entire country, but what's really fascinating and reflects some of what has been discussed here about people working from home is you can see internet usage kind of flee from traditional urban centers where people have offices or downtowns and move out to the suburbs. So you can actually kind of watch the migration of people who are working together, working on teams or studying, students in school, leaving more central areas and moving out to home networks and home broadband. And as time has been progressing, and I know we're all very hopeful for kind of a quick resolution to this, one thing that is, I think we can all be grateful for is that the internet's continued to be resilient as this has gone from weeks to now months. In April, pretty recently, so about a month ago, we saw as much as a 50% sustained increase in internet usage in Spain. So again, as kind of the quarantine became more global, you can see different countries react. And places like US and Canada, places in North America, also up by 40 and 50%. But what's really amazing about that is that stability continues to be sufficient. Now, I know we're all probably guilty of being angry about a Zoom connection or sharing a video conference on the same Wi-Fi as a partner or children who might also be streaming Netflix, and that causes us to grumble a little bit. But holistically, the internet has done a pretty remarkable job staying online and serving this type of demand. We measure that in one way in particular with the round trip time between a server and Cloudflare's network to understand congestion in general. And we've actually noticed no significant degradation in round trip time around the internet. And that's persistent across different countries. So like I mentioned earlier, you can see different countries' usage increase kind of in waves, and then stay persistently increased over time. But the increase in Spain came after the increase in Italy, but both are now operating at a higher level. And if you think about what would have happened if any of these countries had to increase water utility by 50%, electricity by 50%, in any gas, natural gas for heating in the winter. If you think about any sort of piece of infrastructure that you have to increase by 50% in a matter of not just days or weeks, but hours, I'm not sure what other systems could withstand it. And this isn't a testament to Cloudflare. Cloudflare is excited to be part of the internet, but the internet is this huge, massive distributed system. It's a testament to how the internet was built, that you can have this 50% increase in sustained usage over time, and the internet continues to function. It was really built for something like this.
Yeah.
So we've seen those types of changes pretty significantly.
Yeah. Yeah, Sam. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Good feedback again from Cloudflare. And is there anyone to add something for this question? No. Okay. My second question is going to come to Mohan first again. As you know, companies trying to adapt digital transformation to their system, and what kind of effect, Mohan, did pandemic do on digital transformation? Do you think that this pandemic accelerated the process of adaptation of digital transformation at companies? Mohan, I think your voice is muted.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, for sure. I think like Begum mentioned earlier, a lot of companies which were kind of on the fence about moving to the cloud, even enterprises, some companies and businesses which are heavily regulated and had their inhibitions about moving to the cloud entirely. I think all that is fast track. I think people are now see that as the only way, given the uncertainty around this pandemic and how long it will last. So definitely, I think a lot of digital transformation used to happen, especially for a lot of enterprises. Now, I think mid-sized businesses and especially startups, they're all born in the cloud businesses. So I think for them, it's not so much about digital transformation, but I think cloud really is the way to go. We don't see a lot of businesses starting otherwise. So to answer your question, Burkai, definitely, I think it's accelerated across the board. Luckily for us at DigitalOcean, I think the change or shift has been less dramatic. As a company, we've been very remote friendly. About 60% plus of our employee base is remote. So for us, I think it was just the move to 100% remote company was pretty seamless. Our internal IT teams and our HR team was kind of equipped to kind of just extend all the benefits, all the IT policies across the board and make that shift less dramatic, right? It was pretty seamless in terms of how our systems worked and how easily we were able to transition into a fully sort of like remote company without any sort of dramatic changes. So that way it's been super easy as a company. But I do imagine, I think for some companies, it was sort of like a big shift in terms of how they operate with a fully remote kind of employee base.
Yeah, thank you, Mohan. And also, Lucas, what do you think about this? Do you think that it made contribution to accelerate the speed of adaptation for digital transformation?
Yes, absolutely. Maybe if we take a step back, I often ask first, what do we actually mean with digital transformation? You know, it's an overused word. I'm working closely with a professor for digital transformation from my former university on that. And it's super interesting, you know, digital transformation, especially what Mohan said. I think it happens for enterprises since a long time, including ourselves, you know, where we are a fully remote company. We have some offices, but we were very used to that kind of working with 550 plus people. But when you look at what is happening now is in the small and medium businesses space, this is finally happening, you know. And but when you define digital transformation, we see that, or I personally see that as a combination of, it starts actually with customer centricity and a better customer experience that you provide, independent if you have an online experience or an offline experience that you provide to your customers. And this is happening that where you need a new technologies, a cloud, of course, but it's also about actually making your processes digital. I'll just give you an example in a second about that. And of course, it's about digital leadership, digital marketing, and actually cultivating or creating a culture of being more digital. And so, you know, just to give you some examples of my personal network in the SMB space, and again, small and medium-sized businesses are the end customers of every partner using our software in that space. And I've literally had like a wine shop coming to me that had only a retail shop and sold B2B through restaurants. Their customers were ordering via fax, yes, fax, and sometimes telephone. But now they're kind of a huge issue because everything was closed for like 2.5 months, no revenues, but still costs. And now they jumped up and said like, okay, I now need finally an online shop. Other people came to me and said like, okay, I traditionally work as an architect group with construction people, and we don't have a central file sharing. Can you help me? You know, such basics were coming in. You know, there it's really about also transforming the way of how you work as a small and medium-sized business. I think there are probably 3 types of developments that I see in the small and medium-sized businesses. There are the ones who now finally woke up, that slept the last 10 years, but now they woke up and they tried to change their business. Then the second ones, they still didn't wake up. And we have many of them, even in Switzerland, where it's a very digitally advanced country, but we have lots of people that actually go bankrupt now because they just slept the last 10 years. You know, if you come to me and tell me, can you maybe quickly help me setting up an online store? That's not quickly, you know. If you slept the last 10 years, nothing is happening. But last but not least, I think, Mohan, you mentioned that as well, the digital, you mentioned startups, but I even talked to some people that are from other areas of business, and now they go into e-commerce and they go with an approach of digital first. You know, I have talked to a 35 years old guy who sells design furniture only online, and he's growing like crazy. And hopefully these people that are like cloud first and digital first are hopefully balancing out those who will go bankrupt. But we have a reality that also goes bankrupt. And the main reason is from those that go bankrupt in this space, it's, sorry to say it, a generational problem. It's a lot of much older people who said, this is IT, I don't want to deal with it. They only ripped me off for the last years, and I don't want to go into it. I think those who get it, they will also realize that digital transformation, you, even as an SMB owner, you have to learn some so-called technical things because everything is technical in that world with digital transformation. So I think we have some amazing opportunities transforming the landscape of SMBs and how they operate, that will even result for us as like private users, as customers of some of these SMBs, for having a much better customer experience when you work with them or be a customer from them.
Yeah, actually, in Turkey, we also giving a marketing consultancy services to IT companies. My main major is marketing strategist. So I also see, I have some kind of hosting companies as a customer, and we see the increasements of number of domain names with the companies because people think to move their business to online these days, but they need to be more brave because we see that maybe they take the domain names, maybe they have a good idea to move their business from offline to online, but they are still shy. They are still shy to do this because maybe they think that it is so technical things to handle. Maybe it could be needed more expertise on the business, but we see the increasement with them, the new hosting packages people buy, new server investment they are doing. So I think that this process is going to help more the SMEs and other companies, large enterprises, to invest their business on digital transformation as well. Actually, Begim, you already answered some for this question, but maybe you can tell again how the Blutistan helping the enterprises, of course, mostly SME plus and large enterprises, how you help enterprises for digital transformation, what kind of development you see on this case during these days?
Thank you very much again. I mean, you made a great introduction. Let me try to continue where you left. I read a survey a couple of weeks ago. The question was, which is conducted by a strategic consultancy company, one of the biggest. The question was, which of the following is the biggest driver for digital transformation? Yeah. I'm sure some of you have seen that. It was A, market demand, B, cost optimization, C, competition, D, pandemic. And it was like 70% of the correspondents answered D. So that is the first reaction, of course. That's sort of an emotional reaction as well. Yet, pandemic definitely has a serious impact on the digital transformation as an accelerator. So again, looking from the customer, looking from the customer perspective, from inside out. So when we talk about digital transformation from customer perspective, actually we are talking about bunch of clusters of processes, meaning digital transformation of finance, digital transformation of logistics, digital transformation of sales, digital transformation of customer care, and so on and so forth, and operations and warehouse management, and so on and so forth. So every domain here has its own initiatives in terms of digital transformation. So the first initiative that had to be undertaken by the IT guys was, how are we going to work? How should I make sure that my employees in the company are keep on working from their homes as if they are working from their desk? So that was the first problem that they needed to address. And that's why generally these guys are connected over MPLS networks or over point-to-point networks, and new connection types have emerged. Most of them have tried to find out solutions for VPN connections to the firewalls in the cloud data centers. Most of them had to come up with a VDI solution. So VDI has become popular again. The desktop as a service solutions have become popular again. So of course, from IT perspective, to ensure that the people are going to work from their home as effective as they were working from their desk, there have been some productivity projects popped up. Yeah. So that is the first thing in terms of digital transformation. That is the baseline. People need to work. So after that, if you make sure that all the departments are working, can get connected, then comes the digital transformation part. For the sales part, for example, rather than selling on a face-to-face basis, they have come up with e-commerce or m-commerce type of projects, and they move their channels to online channels. The customers have already moved there in this pandemic case, and they needed to, again, shape out, refine their customer care basis, again, from call centers to chatbots to online support, and etc. So in each and every department, there have been several digital transformation initiatives, mainly managed by the technology people. Yet, of course, I mean, there have been some companies who struggled in these endeavors. So back to your question, what is Bulutistan doing in this context? So actually, if you ask to each and every cloud company, regardless of their size, what is the market opportunity, what is the compelling event? So the data is growing with an incredible pace, whereas the processing capacity is growing with a lesser pace. And there is a delta in between.
Yeah.
And that delta is being fulfilled by the gentleman in this panel, or by the companies like this gentleman in this panel. So that is what we do. Now the data acceleration has even more drastically climbed up. And what we do is, in terms of each and every endeavor in the digital transformation project, more data is generated, and we try to help them out to provide the capacity that they need.
Yeah. Thank you, Begin. Actually, we have some actual feedback from the participant as well. They also agree with you and with your support, your opinion. Yes, Sam, can you hear us?
Yes.
Yeah. Actually, Sam, Cloudflare is a very huge company, and you have lots of workers inside the company. How the product team at Cloudflare has been reacting to support current needs and challenges due to COVID-19?
Yeah.
Can you please share with us?
We've thought about it in a few different ways. The first is, what tools can we release to help internet users everywhere find both kind of a safer and more performant internet, but also encourage internet providers and other partners in the space to adopt better practices that right now, since we're all living on the internet effectively, we depend on it more than ever. One thing that we've released recently that's a free tool for everyone is something called Is BGP Safe Yet? And it's kind of a funny name, but if you're unfamiliar with BGP, it's the underlying postal delivery system of the internet. But it's kind of terrifying when you think about it. If you think about how a packet navigates the internet, it's in some cases not unlike if you have a package you want to send to London, stepping outside of your front door, handing the package to the first person you see and saying, hey, I hope you know how to get this to London. Good luck, can you hand it to someone else? You wouldn't probably do that. You would want to have some more trust in that handoff. But the way that BGP operates in many cases right now is it's not secure, which can lead to route leaks, which can take down big portions of the internet for different providers. So one thing we are trying to advocate for, and we're giving people tools to measure this and detect this, is encrypted BGP, something called RPKI. But it's more than just the underlying infrastructure of the internet. There's other challenges that employees and users are facing, and I think someone in chat mentioned this, as well as other panelists, about remote work. A lot of the ways that the internet was designed for a distributed system like this, it's reflected in how successful the internet's been in responding to this type of demand. But one thing that hasn't been as successful at responding to this type of demand are these legacy systems of work, which maybe require more traditional virtual private networks, or things where you're backhauling traffic through centralized data centers. And in a world where we are relying on residential broadband connections rather than more performant or more stable MPLS links, or just business or enterprise internet services, in a world where we're relying on our homes, those connections become much more important. So we have a set of tools that we've released for free. We did this back in March, and it's on through September. So for 6 months in total, at least, where people can use these services we offer that replace VPNs, or replace the kinds of secure web gateways you might have had to backhaul traffic through, so that your users are staying safe on the internet. So whether it's putting tools in place to help kind of the general internet find ways to be more secure, more performant, or also making tools available to people who can maybe deprecate VPNs or respond more deftly to this new working environment, it's really important to us that the tools available to people on the internet match the capacity of the internet, that the bottleneck shouldn't be the things that you rely on. You should be just as ready to scale by 50% as the internet itself. So that's really important to us and something that both product teams as well as a wide range of volunteers through free onboarding sessions have made possible in the last few months.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Yes, our webinar's main subject was post-COVID-19 and new normal adaptation. So my third question is going to be about this. First, again, I want to start with Mohan. Mohan, it seems that pandemic getting over. There's still, of course, no curates in the health industry, but we see that the effect of it is decreasing every single day. What is the new normal going to be post-COVID-19? Do you think that there is going to be a disruptive change after this? We are going to see new normals?
New normals in the sense, at least what we are seeing, of course, I think one big change is remote work is here to stay. I think recently, I think we've been seeing surveys. Even we did a survey internally at the company asking people like, how open are they to come back to office, to our offices around the world. And, you know, a lot of people said there is reluctance to come back anytime soon. So I think remote work is here to stay, right? And it's also has its upsides. I think, you know, businesses can save on really expensive offices they have around the world. But it also leads to new challenges, like how do you engage your employees now with remote work being an option? I think the number of companies that your employees could work for has just increased, right? So employee engagement, it becomes that much more important. How are you kind of constantly communicating with your employees? How are you keeping them engaged? And also it's really important for leadership to kind of continuously have that sort of conversation. Internally, what we've done at DigitalOcean is we have every Friday, sort of more informal catch-ups with our executives, kind of giving an update on the business, how are we doing, and the impact that we are seeing. But also, I think there is sort of like the work. Earlier, we would say work-life balance. Now it's so much work-life integration because we're all working different hours. We're now at home, so that constant merging of what is your personal and your professional is kind of, the lines are blurred. So it's really important to ensure employees are engaged, they feel together and supported by the company. So even policies where our gym equipment reimbursement, or even giving employees benefits to set up their work from home, you know, sort of like a setup at home. So we're kind of providing reimbursements there. I think those are certain things that we've changed. So big change is work from home and how we kind of go forward. But also I think for businesses, all the more than ever, I think just the focus on your customers becomes that much more, right? Because we need to be much more customer focused in terms of what are their business challenges, what are they trying to solve, and really scale up and ensure we are kind of keeping up with their requirements, their needs to really matter to them. So we've been more proactively reaching out to customers, having those conversations in terms of how we can support. Of course, there have been businesses which have been impacted in a negative way. There, how can we support with some of our customers? We've done billing extensions or credit timeline extensions just to ensure we see them through for the next couple of months to ensure their business continuity. So just being a lot more customer focused, that really becomes important. And also, I think as businesses also having that sort of like an impact, how are we also, this is a big problem at large. I mean, more than our revenue and our growth, I think as a world, how do we come together and also show impact? So I think different companies are doing different initiatives. I know Cloudflare has also opened up their Cloudflare for Teams for a lot of startups for free. Likewise, DigitalOcean, we have a program called DigitalOcean Hub for Good, where for anybody who is supporting COVID-related projects, we've kind of committed $100,000 worth of credits, as well as $100,000 in donations, right, for relief projects. So I think it's a great moment in time for all of us to step up. I think just think at society at large, but also I think from a customer perspective, really be super focused on your customers. How are you serving your markets? I think one thing I'm seeing with a lot of startups, right? Earlier, when you ask a startup like, who do you serve, or who is your ideal customer, they would pretty much say, everybody is my customer. But I think in the last couple of months, if they've seen key trends of who their customers are, who have spiked, who have continued usage, who've been really showing different use cases of their product, I think it gives such a great opportunity for companies to narrow down their focus on who their customer segment is, and really kind of super serve that customer segment. So I think these are all the new normals that I'm seeing, Burkai.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, Lucas, what do you think about this? What's the new normal is going to be? Do you think that we are going to see new normals at IT industry?
Well, yes, I pretty much support Mohan with what you said. As I said earlier, you know, we are kind of 2 layers behind. So there is the small and medium-sized businesses that need to embrace digital transformation. They need to learn that what you said earlier, a domain is a domain. Yeah, just know what the domain is in 2020. You know, you cannot get over it. and then you have, honestly, also on the service provider level, you know, we have more than 3,000 service providers we are working with. If you want to help customers to aid customers to provide the best customer experience, you should also offer a better customer and user experience. And this is what we are focusing on as a software company, you know, not just in Plask or in cPedal. We have actually launched a new product just 2 weeks ago called Solus IO. It's completely redeveloped from scratch. It provides a digital ocean-like experience based on your infrastructure. So, you know, a lot of service providers that are probably here in this round, they're having very outdated user experiences. I think our company is partially guilty. You know, there's the advantage that we're so long in the market and our stuff is stable. But on the other side, we have done in the last few years a huge effort to increase, to improve the user experience and help service providers of any form to actually have a much better user experience to their customers, because I think that was one of the success points of DigitalOcean. And we should really focusing on making not only good user experience, but a good customer experience overall, you know, and also in reinforcing that point for Mohan regarding segmentation. You know, a lot of our service provider partners, when you ask them who is your customer, the answer is we're selling to everybody, you know. And this is just not the answer. I mean, I'm also an advisor to various startups on a regular basis, and they're coming to me with the same thing. I mean, even if you think you want to sell to everybody, make sure you start somewhere, you know, analyze your existing customer base. Maybe you'll find some gold nuggets there to actually focus on them, and that will even increase the value to these customers, but also you can charge them a little more and focus more on also adding value-added services to a specific niche. I think this is now even more important. You know, this whole startup bubble or venture capital bubble that happened the last few years, in my humble opinion, I think it's more important than ever to focus on a sustainable business, on a profitable business, and not just focusing on raising capital and trying to just grow into any area or with the goal to sell the company. I think this is coming back to like old school business. How do you actually build the company? How you going to be successful? Just transformed into the digital world.
Yeah, thank you, Lucas. Yes, Mr. Begum, what do you think about this?
So I think, I mean, the new paradigm, the new normal, I think I can summarize all of them in some bullets in 5 points, I guess. The first one is there are customers that used to be customers who were reluctant to move to cloud. And I think that idea has changed for good. So all of the customers that we are talking to are more eager to move their workloads to cloud. So that is not a question anymore. The question being, what kind of cloud are we talking about? Is it a hyperscaler? Is it a private cloud or whatever? So that is the first bullet of mine in the new normal. The second one is we were always talking about contingency scenarios. So how are we going to operate when something bad happens, like a disaster happens, and of course in different severities, and how are we going to react when that happens? So we are always talking about disaster scenarios. We have some workloads in our disaster recovery centers. Some companies are ahead of the others. Those guys have a business continuity plan, so they write everything down and they do some rehearsals every 6 months, for example, on a regular basis. So we have seen that these contingency scenarios that were fantasies before are sort of important. So everyone has grasped that. So that is the second change in the new normal. I'm sure that all of the enterprises that we are talking about will much more focus on the contingency scenarios. The primary data is important, but the secondary data, the secondary topic of the data is important as well. So maybe the third one as well. The backups were not that important before, they are important as well. So the show must go on. That is the second punchline of mine in the new normal. The third one is, as Mohan mentioned, the office space. By the way, in terms of office space, I haven't made up my mind yet. So from one point of view, I agree with Mohan. So for some specific tasks, for some specific duties, office space is not required. People can keep on doing what they're doing right now from their homes. That's okay. But especially for, there are some tasks who require the gray cells working in your brain. So some tasks that require definitely very high level of concentration. For those tasks, still I will go for office usage. So I'm in between. So for some tasks, you can keep on working 50% to 50%, but office requirements, office utilization, the expensive offices will definitely be questioned in the new normal. I agree on that. That is the third topic. The fourth one are the emotions. So looking from, for example, Booth's standpoint of view, I am a CEO, so I need to manage my company, and people are looking up to me. What will be my first reaction? So would I go for stay calm and carry on, or would we do some contingency plan? So what will be my reaction will be also reflected to the employees. So we, in that respect, we were quite cool when it happened. So I made it very clear to my employees that I said, we will, as Bulutistan, we will take care for your finances. There will be no layoff. There will be no salary cuts. We issued on the spot waivers from sales targets. So we said no one is accountable anymore for an unforeseeable time from the sales targets. Please do show your best endeavors, do your best, but you will not be measured in this process. We will take care for your finances. You will take care for your health and your beloved one's health. So that is a very important message from our point of view, because people's minds are equipped with uncertainties, and people are generally depressed in these uncertain times. So we try to help them out to manage those emotions. How? Again, I think Mohan mentioned that we had regular one-to-ones with employees. So we increased the frequency of the one-to-ones, and these online meetings helped us out significantly. We could reach out to anyone whenever we want. Again, that has an upside, that has a downside, 50-50. Work-life balance and mixed to each other. Where does the work begin? Where does the work end? We don't know it anymore. Yeah. And again, finally, my fifth point is all the industries will seek new ways of doing business. And they will question their purpose of beings. So that's a philosophical point of view. But I know very big companies, very big retailers, the biggest ones in Turkey, and those guys have seen that they are very much focused on one pillar. If that pillar is off, 80% of their revenue goes by. Like Airbnb, for example, in a multinational level, or like Uber. In Uber, in May, they announced more than 3,000 people's layoff. Yet Uber Eats is growing by 54%, but it's pretty small. It cannot compensate the diminishing part of the business. So most of the businesses have started contemplating and getting consultancy services from outside to understand how can we mitigate the risk when something happens in one of the engines of the plane. Yeah. How can we keep on flying without crashing? So that will be my final remark.
Yeah. Thank you, Begum. It's nice to hear that large enterprises doesn't think about whether they should move their system to cloud anymore. It's nice to hear it from one of the industry leaders in Turkey. And also thank you for sharing ideas about the new normals. Sam, what kind of support does Cloudflare giving the enterprises in this era? I mean, how do you support the SMEs, large enterprises as a Cloudflare on this case?
Yeah, we want to make it seamless for these organizations that are attempting to respond right now. Mohan mentioned programs both DigitalOcean and Cloudflare are offering to customers new and old for free, because again, the last thing that should be occurring is that the transition to run a business on the internet right now and how people are responding to this challenge be impacted by your ability to get the job done. I know a lot of the presenters were talking about how this changes work from a employee-employer relationship, and I think Mohan said it really eloquently, talking about how employers need to respond to this change, that employees are more dynamic now. They can work in different types of ways and different opportunities. And I think what one way that organizations are hopefully going to respond to that is an increased adoption of more written communication. And I know we're here on a Zoom call talking out loud, and that's the type of venue that this should be. But one thing I really think is powerful is when you're working across time zones and across regions, the ability to put what you're working on, the thoughts that you have, the ideas you have into writing, and to communicate that is going to become more and more important. Cloudflare internally, we're trying to help make that easier for our own employees and our team members. For our customers, we really want to be in a world where the last thing they have to worry about is internet performance or security. I kind of sometimes hope that our customers don't know what Cloudflare is, because that means that we're doing our job. If for our infrastructure business that protects websites, if you don't notice Cloudflare and your audience doesn't notice Cloudflare, that's great. That means your website is up, it's performant, it's working. For our tools like Cloudflare for Teams, if your employees don't notice it, that's fantastic. That means they're being able to do their jobs seamless together on the internet. When the internet works well, you don't notice it. And I think that's going to be more and more true as organizations change to this new normal that Mohan mentioned.
Thank you. Actually, we have thank you so much. My questions are finished. So I'm going to ask the question of participants, audience, and Seher Sahuroğlu Ayhan has a question for both Cloudflare and Plesk, and I'm reading the question. Given the national restriction and measures to fight with COVID-19, national economies are getting more dependent on their sources. What kind of plan Cloudflare and Plesk have to cope with the globalization effect of COVID-19? Are their operations more oriented to local community demand and needs? How they overcome the physical distance resulted from COVID-19? Very good question. Yeah, first, Lucas,
I could maybe start, yeah.
please.
Very good question, yes. So for us as a global company, but also being a software company and not like a SaaS platform, we clearly believe that we think globally, but we act locally. It sounds a little bit like old school, but I think this is still the key thing, because the fact that we are a software is you can run it wherever you want. You know, I think I talked a lot about that in the last few days, even within our management. You know, it's not about Plesk or cPanel and Control Panel and all these things. It's about the approach on how you provide a great customer experience as a IT service provider or a hosting service provider to your customers. And there you might have workloads of your customers that may run in your data center in Turkey, that you run it for them. But you may want to use DigitalOcean for some other workloads, or in areas where you maybe have an international customer, where you can leverage DigitalOcean's data center and still use our software as well. So for us, it's really a combination of enabling not only your data center or working with the large cloud providers, but in a combination with them in partnership, so that you can run the business as you need it locally for your customers and be enough flexible that you can adjust it. Honestly, just an example, that new product that we just launched 2 weeks ago, Solo.io, Turkish is actually one of the first top 10 languages that we included into the product. That just shows you that Turkey is an important market for us, and that we definitely are ready to think locally. Where we have sometimes a bit of an issue is we don't have the marketing materials localized and these kind of things, but that's something that is coming now with our updated expansion plans and continuous investment, that we can help you more actually building the right services for your customers, and even provide you the localized, translated templates and recommendations to run your business.
Thank you. Yes, Mohan. Yes, Sam. What would you like to share about this?
Sure. I think one change in the pandemic is in fact more globalization, and I mean that in terms of people working together. Maybe the borders are closed to physical travel, but if you think about this call right now, there's people from here in Portugal, from Turkey, from India, from Switzerland. I'm sure in the audience there's a dozen other countries. This is a conversation we've been having this in person that would have been difficult to achieve. It would have involved hours and days of travel, coordination, all in the same place. I think in a world where we're working together on the internet, which is a truly global distributed thing, it's not something that necessarily exists in a single place. It gives us more opportunity to actually work alongside people from all over the world. And I think part of the question mentioned, think about the local community. And of course, in every office, every location, that's very important. I'm here in our Portugal office, where we've continued to grow it, the office as well. But Cloudflare, a pretty global organization more broadly. And when we are thinking about how to respond to times like this, one thing we've done, for example, is we've doubled our intern class in size, because we know a lot of people are losing internships right now. We've doubled that class, and we've made it available in any of the regions where we operate, which means we're able to take in interns who might be in cities or locations where they would not previously been able to be in a physical Cloudflare office. So they are able to participate in learning with Cloudflare. We're able to get to work alongside them, and that's really a privilege and an honor. So I think as people rely on the internet more and more, we're going to have these types of opportunities where we're working with people from all over the world, and it just feels seamless, things that would maybe have not been as easy before this.
Thank you. Thank you. And today, I think 1 hour is finished, and thank you again for your attending to our webinar. And I'm going to speak in Turkish after this. Katılımcılarımıza teşekkür ediyoruz. İlk global webinarımızdı bu. Global konuşmacıların olduğu ve tercüme içinde olan bir webinardı. Bu yayını aynı zamanda YouTube kanalımıza da birkaç gün sonra yükleyip size mail ve SMS yoluyla bildireceğiz. Bir sonraki webinarımız yine globalden önemli katılımcıların olduğu bir webinar olacak. Konumuz sanıyorum e-mail üzerine olacak. Bir yine Haziran ayında başka bir webinarımız daha oyun sektöründe yazılım geliştirme ile alakalı biraz daha teknik tarafta developerları, sistem ve network tarafındaki teknik arkadaşlarımızı ilgilendiren konular olacak. Umarım memnun kalmışsınızdır. Her türlü sorularınızı bize info adresimizden sorabilirsiniz. Çok kısa bir CloudTalk Global hakkında da bilgi vereceğim. Biliyorsunuz 21 Nisan'da İstanbul Kongre Merkezi'nde yapacaktık etkinliğimizi. Şu anda 29 Eylül 2020 tarihine erteledik. O etkinliğimizde de umuyoruz ki pandemi sürecini atlattıktan sonra Türkiye'nin ve dünyadan önemli temsilciler olacak. Yine Plesk, Cloudflare ve diğer firmaları İstanbul Kongre Merkezi'nde 29 Eylül'de görme şansınız olacak, etkinliği yapabilirsek fiziksel olarak. Şu anda amaçladığımız bu. O zamana kadar da online etkinliklerle sizleri bilgilendirmeye devam edeceğiz. Konularla alakalı talepleriniz olursa şu konuyu da konuşun, bu konuda da hani bir şeyler duymak isteriz veya konuşmacı da olmak isteyebilirsiniz. Bu türlü taleplerinizi info@cloudtalk Global adresine atarsanız çok sevinirim. Thank you again for all the speakers and I hope everything was okay with you as well. And please, you can watch the video later on the YouTube. And would you like to add something, Lucas, Mohan, Sam, Begim? I don't know how to end the webinar as a moderator.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate the invitation.
Everyone. Leave.
Thank you very much. It was a real pleasure.
Thank you. Have a nice day.
Hope to see you all in person soon, yeah?
Yeah, hope so. And have a nice day to everyone. As speakers know each other anymore, I think you are going to be in contact for new collaboration and partnerships.
For sure.
Thank you so much. Chat'ten bir şey var mı diye son kez kontrol ediyorum. Herkes teşekkürlerini sunuyor. Umarım güzel olmuştur. Kendinize iyi bakın. Hoşçakalın arkadaşlar. YouTube kanalında videoyu izleyebilirsiniz. Birkaç gün sonra. Thank you Navan. Thank you Ali and my team.
Thank you all. Have a nice day.
Thank you all. Have a nice day.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.